Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. We're going to be looking at undervalued investment opportunities, doing a little bit of technical analysis on uranium. If you guys like this type of content, subscribe to the channel, please. And give me a thumbs up if you haven't. So here we go. We're going to go into uranium. I'm going to go straight into charting. Again, this is not financial education. It's just financial education. It's not advice. You guys are going to have to do your own due diligence and see what's right for your own self and your portfolio. So let's jump in. So I'm going to start with North Shore Global Uranium Mining ETF. I drew this trend line in, and we squeezed up to the tip here and broke to the downside. I think that there's going to be more downside, and we're going to go through a consolidation period is my guess. I don't think we're just going to turn around and go straight back up. I think we're going to meander lower for a little while and consolidate before moving higher, which basically means we're going to create a base to launch from eventually. And it's going to take a little bit of time. CCJ, it is going to attack its uptrend line here. The way that I view this is we've got big momentum coming down. It's squeezed on up. And then I think we're going to break through this to the downside and eventually consolidate over a period of time. Next Gen Energy, it is doing a little bit of we'll call it the opening and closing price are starting to meet each other. The buyers and sellers are starting to equal each other out here right at this trend line. This could hold and maybe we stay above it, or it could break and come on down. And if we break, like we've seen in URNM, and that's why I'm really holding this overall viewpoint, because this is the best depiction of the entire sector. I think these are going to follow suit and probably break to the downside is my guess. Because I go with what the overall sector's doing. And I think we're going to see a little bit of a pullback here. Consolidation pullback. Denison Mines, I didn't draw anything in here, not too much to draw through here, but it did break. Looks like it did break to the downside a little bit. Got to throw a line in here. Well, wow, that just popped right in. Didn't even have to do anything. But it is breaking to the downside here. We'll probably see a little bit of a pullback. Energy Fuels is lining up probably for a pullback as well. UEC already broke to the downside, drawing the trend line like this. So we're probably going to see more of a pullback to sideways motion, consolidating and pulling on back. UR Energy, I didn't draw it in here, but it's similar pattern. You can see the big volume day here too. Probably a little bit of a sell-off. Uranium Royalty Corp, we broke this uptrend line. We do have a lot of support right where it's at right now. If you were to kind of put this in here, you've got a ton of support all through this area and here. There's a bunch. So it's probably going to pause here for a little while, and then I want to see which way it goes. Does it break down or does it come back up? That's where all the support's at right now. I'm guessing down if the entire sector's pulling back. Vision broke to the downside. We may see some further pullback. Yellow Cake, I threw this one in. Someone wanted me to chart it. You can see this pattern here. It broke to the downside. It's back testing or retesting, and we're probably going to head lower for a little bit. That's my guess. Standard Uranium broke to the downside of its pattern, and we're either going to go sideways to lower unless they come out with positive drilling results or something like that this summer. Alaska broke to the downside. You could see more downside out of it. Global Atomic, it is rolling over, and you're probably going to see a little bit more downside coming out of it. Goviax doesn't look too bad. We broke this big trend line pattern. It hasn't moved as much as some of the other companies, and it's kind of just moving sideways. Bannerman's the same way. These African ones look a little bit stronger than the Canadian ones. Deep Yellow, if you draw the line through here, you could say this broke to the downside, and we could see further downside. Encore Energy, we're still flying high. How long will it last? Not 100% sure. But this guy is is up there. We've got quite a bit of room to go down to hit its upward trend line. Looking at it from a big picture view, I pulled up blue sky uranium. We broke out, and we could kind of back test and then move on up. I mean, we very well could even come all the way down to 12 cents or something, or maybe we just head higher. On the short term, it's very difficult to get these on the nuts, but what I like here is this big pattern. The big pattern broke to the upside, and whether this goes down a little bit, the big move is still ahead of us. These are all short-term patterns. They're not big long-term disruption patterns. They're all these that I'm showing you over here, all these, they're all short-term. So short-term, we are pulling back. But looking at the big picture, I think we're going to move much higher over the long term. Laramide, it's another one. I threw this guy in here. It did break. Just looking at it from here, it did break to the downside of its uptrend line here. And this could be pulling back as well. If you look, you might have a little bit of support in this range right here, right where it's at. You could see some support. So we'll see if this kind of broke out, back testing is going to run, or if it's going to break down even more. So that's what I've got for today. I know everybody wants to hear the positive, rah, 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 we're going to go to the moon. And we are eventually. Short term, though, I'm a little bit more reserved. I'm just waiting to see what the price does. I don't see anything. There's no indication of a turn. And we've got patterns that broke to the downside, which usually means it takes some time for this to resolve itself. I don't think it's just going to turn and go back up. It could be weeks, could be months. We'll find out. It could even be half a year or 3 months. I don't necessarily know. The charts are going to tell us when the turn is. But when you break a pattern, usually you're going to take some time to come on back and consolidate. I don't think it's just going to turn around and head on higher. We can always hope, but I'm gonna accumulate shares when this pulls back. If it continues to pull back and I see a bottom, I'm going to continue to accumulate shares in this area. The ratio is still undervalued. I know you guys who are newer investors, you don't like to be patient. You want things to move. You want it to go now. Otherwise, you want to sell and go to something else. That's not how you make a lot of money. You make a lot of money by identifying the big trend, like this trend that's behind me right now, this blue sky uranium, that big, huge trend break, this monster pattern break to the upside, and it's just sitting there. That's how you make money. You accumulate over the next year, 6 months, whenever it's cheap, you keep accumulating the cheap, undervalued asset, and then you wait. And a lot of these are cheap, undervalued. The ratio is extremely cheap for uranium in relationship to gold. All of those things are the same. The underlying fundamentals are all the same. But in the short term, I see downward pressure. If you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up. Thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.